Hello everyone. This is Maizi, a queer feminist activist from China. Currently I'm New York based. Today I'm gonna make a brief introduction about the feminist movement in China, and basically based on my personal experiences. I will give a historical review about the background information as well. Because the Chinese civil society has been shifted a lot in the past decade. So there's a lot of things which is some sort of connect with each other, like civil societies and the the authoritarian regime and the feminist movement. So the first, oh, sorry. First of all, I want to make a introduction about the whole situation of the civil society in China. As we all know, in 1995, the Beijing hosted the Third World Women Conference, and at the time, the authorities they are seeking support from other countries, especially Western countries. Since then, in China, we started to accept the idea of non-governmental organizations. In 1996, we have our first NGO called 自然之友, which is an environmental protection organization founded in China. So since then, the Chinese government widely received the foreign fundings, like from the Global Fund, from Bill Gates Foundation, Ford Foundation. A lot of foreign assistance get involved in the in China, and they cooperate with the government, with the local communities, with local NGOs. It could be a very prosperous movement or period in China. But I want to make an example about the how there's the authoritarian regime have shifted their attitude toward foreign forces. So at the early millennium year, the Global Fund, they entered into China and they provided a lot of money to China, but it turned out there's a lot of corruption in this process, just because they're the local NGO, they are greatly marginalized from the project management process, and the majority money has been used for the government department stipends. So rather than used in the real AIDS prevention work. So Global Fund suspended funding China in 2011, then defunded from China. This tendency also happened in many other countries as well, because Global Fund, they also funded many developing countries as well. Both have the issue of corruption. But what I want to emphasize is that 10 years ago, the Chinese authorities, they welcome foreign fundings. And 10 years later, they treat foreign fundings as a CIA agent. Like this sort of American conspiracy is predominant currently. So women's rights and women's issues, like before 2010, is greatly marginalized from the mainstream agenda. You can tell we can have a environmental protection NGO and focusing on environmental protection issues, but in this sort of NGO, and there's no they don't emphasize the gender equality as a. So is that some people have questions? No?
No, I think you can go on.
Okay. So they don't have we can have some NGOs in early 2020, like 2012 or in the early 2000 millennium year, but there's no independent feminism activism force in the society. Before we began to do some offline campaign on the streets, the women's issues is mainly focused on the development issues, like the rural area. We need to solve the rural area education problem. So we have the Hope School. Like when they initiate those programs, they mainly want to increase the situation of the women's situation, and also they want to do some political practice in rural areas. They set one village as an example, and they some sort of implement the political election in that village. So which could be very how to say, it could be very creative, but this sort of women's organizations, basically they have a strong connection with the government departments, and they have a strong connection with Gango. So you can tell the All China Women Federation could be identified as a Gango. Gango is a governmental organizations, non-governmental organization. So we call it Gango because it's also it's kind of backup for the government departments. So this is the basic situation. Once we figure this out, we want to make a change. Before I make an introduction about our feminism movement, I also want to briefly introduce the Beijing European Center. It's my first job actually. So when I graduated from university, I joined the Beijing European Center and work as a program officer of the Gender Equality Advocacy Program. What different, Beijing European Center is quite unique, which is different from the mainstream NGOs in China. We, like, our main work is anti all kinds of discrimination. As a first, we fight against the people living with, the discrimination that people living with hepatitis B. In China, we have nearly 100 million people living with hepatitis B, which is a quite significant number. But this sort of people, they are facing a lot of discriminations and prejudice, no matter from the economic level and the social and the cultural levels. For example, if you have hepatitis B, you might cannot work any jobs who have a strong connection with food. Like you cannot be a staff in the supermarket because the laws and the regulations said you might transmit virus to other people. Obviously, this is wrong, but at that time, due to lack of public education, and people saw the hepatitis B equal to hepatitis A. So the way of transmission, they are the same, but hepatitis B is more like the transmission ways is more like the AIDS. So it transmits through the blood or sexual behaviors. Just because this sort of a huge discrimination systematically, so Beijing Renping Center at the beginning, they help a lot of clients sue the company and sue the governments and ask for the equal workplace rights. And in 2009, the government issued a new law. Is about employment promoting law. So this law called 就业促进法, and this law eliminates the discrimination regulations toward hepatitis B people because the legal litigations and legal aids, the Beijing Renping Center offered the lawyer to help them. So they got a class lawsuit, even though it's like not like a collective lawsuit. It's like individuals and individual cases accumulated like nearly 100 cases. They're just because they have nearly 100 cases, and this is a huge like population in China, and the authority decided to prioritize this issue and they issue the laws. After they issue this law, a lot of regulations still have discriminative regulations. So gradually, our center help make those regulations accountable, and those regulations disappeared as well. So now, if I live with hepatitis B, I do a body check. If I want to get hired by some company, the company have no rights to access with the data of my liver, or whether I'm living with hepatitis B or not. So should be confidential, only provided to myself from hospital to me. If the hospital provide this information to the company, they will violate the law. So that's basically how rights-based approach is very useful. Like maybe 15 years ago, used on hepatitis B issues. So later on, the Beijing Olympic Center, they try to copy the same way in the gender equality issues and LGBT issues. Then in 2012, once we have a workshop about how to figure out what issues what women issues should be prioritized in our agenda, we figured out women in the public space, we need more space, like we need more room in the restroom, and this is like a very common issue that everybody share the same experiences, including men, because once the women is waiting in front of the restroom and their husband or their brothers need to wait there as well. So it's a very common issue, but no one ever challenge it, in a policy from the policy level. So we targeted on the policy, and we figured out the local regulations in different cities and the national regulations issued by the China Construction Department. We started to question the government and push the government to issue the new policies. This is the image in Guangzhou. So it is our second campaign actually. Our first occupying menstruum campaign was initiated in Beijing. Our first campaign is Bloody Brides, which happened on the Valentine's Day 2012 in Beijing Tiananmen Street. We marched over 20 minutes, which is a very inspiring memory. Okay, and this occupying menstruum, you can tell, is a very crowded zone, and this is a public toilets. And we occupy the menstruum. We offer the space for women, and we also hire some men volunteers to keep the order and trying to persuade other men. See, you need to understand women. Just trying to avoid disturbing the public order, because in China, disturbing the public order could be a crime. So you can tell, even though in this scene we have more than 10 volunteers, but most of the people, they didn't act as organizers. Okay, I will give another example. This is about the anti-domestic violence. The people we were trying to help is Li Yan. Li Yan is a victim of domestic violence in Sichuan province. And there's one time her husband is trying to kill her, but she fight against her husband and killed her husband, and divided her husband's body and boil it. This is very cruel, actually. It's a very cruel behavior. So the family of her husband got really angry and asked for death penalty. And when they sentenced the death penalty, they need a procedure the Supreme Court need to approve or reject. So at the beginning, the Supreme Court decided to grant the death penalty to this woman. And this is unacceptable because this woman is under severe domestic violence. Her husband cut a middle finger like this, cut it, her finger, and there's also a lot of different behaviors. So the Old China Women Federation, they also put a lot of efforts in this case, and also as a local feminist activists, we try to save Li Yan. So we went to 10 different cities courts, and in front of the court gate, we have a performance arts called "I don't want to be the next Li Yan," because people under domestic violence and the abuser couldn't got sentenced, but the victim got sentenced to death. This is totally intolerant. After our efforts, and we also drew a lot of help from the lawmakers, lawyers, law workers. They drew the petition letter and to tell the Supreme Court, you cannot do this. And the Supreme Court, they withdraw their decision, and they ask the lower court to review this case. And finally, Li Yan was sentenced to life prison rather than death penalty. But it actually is a death penalty with a probation, like 2 years. And gradually it will be a life prison in the prison. So even though it's a very severe crime, for a victim of domestic violence, just because in China you still need to take sustain the harmonious society into consideration, because the local the husband's family members, they are very powerful in the local area, so they kind of can control how heavy Li Yan was sentenced. That is not too much thing we can do. Every time our volunteer come to the Sichuan Ziyang court, and their family will behave very aggressive. So you can tell it's the political dynamics could be different in the big cities and the small cities. Like in Beijing, this sort of thing couldn't happen because it's not a highly dependent relationship. But in a very small city in China, it's totally a relationship society. So they can manipulate a lot of power in Lian's case. So it turned out we saved it is our first time we feel that we save a person's life. So I'm gonna introduce a pattern, the way of feminism activism. So, or the way to make a shift about policy changing is that, first of all, we will question the government or question the public. At that time, the traditional mainstream media is still dominant on the news area, so we can use the mainstream media help us to spread our ideas. We all know, like people queuing in from the women's toilets for many years, but no one question or tell the government you can change it. You should prioritize it. So our way, we fixed the gap, and we make the government departments accountable, and we tell the Guangzhou relative government department, you need to change the policy. And they got really pissed off because they feel like you cannot ask me to do the things, I don't need you to show me how to do the things. And the government departments, they behave more like a big brother in Beijing, in China. So they won't listen to you. And especially you are using a very aggressive way to push them to accept this. So apart from like, we give them some pressure from the public level, we will also initiate legal aids, legal litigations, and other collective action. For example, performance arts. The reason why we call it performance arts just because we want to be we want to hide the tendency of the collective potentials. Because if you have a collective potentials in China, it might result in detention, which I will make a introduction later. So the organizers we hide behind the whole movement. We call ourselves, I just a volunteer, I'm just a coordinator of this event, and I'm a college student. In 2012, I'm senior in the university, so I have a how to say I have some sort of protection, because in the Chinese university education system, if you are a student, they think you could be well educated to a good girl. So at that time I'm still a good girl that can be educated in 2012. So when you make a lot of requests from the government, the government maybe start to think about what I can do, and then what we can do is that we write a letter to the two Congresses representatives. So the two Congresses is a very important moment for China. They passing some laws, and also the people representatives who attending the two Congresses, they got the KPI. They need to have proposals. So we collect those representatives' email and mailing address. We just write letters to them. And in 2012, there are during the two Congresses, according to my observation, there are 3 representatives. They proposed the women need more room in the public toilets proposal, and also the Chinese construction department started to initiate a research about whether it is a real issue that we need to fix. And in 2016, the China construction department, they issued a new standard. In the past, they changed the policy. In the past is the gender ratio of the toilets, women to men can be 1 to 1.5, and they changed it to it should be 1 to 1.5. So it's only a word changed. And also they say in a very crowded place, they should offer more gender neutral toilets as well. So we can tell 4 years later, we can see the progress. So basically, this is like a civil society pushed the state parties make a change, and we can result in the policy changing. We also use this in many different areas, education area and equal opportunity in workplace. We achieved a lot of results before 2015 and after as well. So things changed in 2015. It was also around the International Women's Day. Just like this month, we also have a lot of events. But in China, it's not too much because the International Women's Day is also happened during the two congresses, and the security level will be escalated to another level during this important period. And there will be a lot of civil guard. They work on the street in Beijing, especially on the bridge incident. So because it's going to be a, public talk, this video will be posted on the YouTube. So I will keep it. I won't introduce more sensitive part. So now let's get back to the detention of Fraser 5. So it's on the eve of the International Women's Day, 2015. We were trying to do something anti-domestic violence in the public transportation, and in the afternoon I started to realize, oh, the other volunteers, I totally lost the connect to them, and I I tried to reach out with Ting and she didn't respond. I tried to reach out some university students and they lost the contact at all. So at the beginning I think, oh, maybe they got harassed by the police. So the police told them drop this campaign. So I've decided I'm going to do this on my own. So I printed those stickers. Yeah, on the eve of like 10:30, on the eve of International Women's Day, 10:30, the police came and detained us, took us to the police station at first, then transferred us to the Beijing Haidian Center, and detained us for 37 days. At the beginning, the charges picking quarrels and provoking troubles. After 30 days, they shifted the crime into disturbing the public orders. Because apart from Beijing Yinping Center, there are many different rights-based organizations in China. There's one organization called Gongmeng, and the key organizer is called Xu Zhiyong. Xu Zhiyong is like a human rights defender and fight for the equal educational rights for those people who don't have a household registration. So household registration is like a unique system in China. They track people and manage the populations. We are about to abolish this system, but at that time, but it still have a strong power in China. If you are outsider, you are not have a Beijing household registration, your kid cannot take the college entrance examination in Beijing. That even no matter how many years have you been resign in China in Beijing, it doesn't matter. You need to go back to your original household registration place. So Xu Zhiyong fight for those families, and those families, they could be really middle class. Not only they got well paid and their kids got really well educated, but not upper class, because maybe upper class they just send their kids to US university or UK universities. So they need the better educational resources, and Beijing enjoys the most better educational resources. And eventually, Xu Zhiyong got sentenced for 4 years in prison, and after he got released, he was detained again last year, and the charges changed to supporting the state. He was sentenced to 8 years, so it's a severe second time sentence. So also, according to Xu Zhiyong's case, you can tell there is a shift about the NGO. You can tell the NGO got cracked down. So basically, after phase 5, the street campaigns is disappeared. So in like in 2012 to 2015, I want to say we still have some gray space that we can do something to make a policy changing. But after 2015, things become more and more difficult. The first case is in 2015 in June. The human rights lawyers they got detained and sentenced, and their charges supporting the state, and they forced them to show on the CCTV, and the lawyers, they need to say you are used by the foreign forces. So basically at that time, the China didn't issue the foreign NGO management law, but they are trying to do some preparation for the law, how to say, implementation. So that's the reason why they need to fund someone, fund some real American spy to support the law issuing. So many human rights lawyers got sentenced, and up to 7 years at that time. And another one is the NGO crackdown, Beijing Yinping Center crackdown, the Gongmeng, another rights-based organization crackdown, and Xu Zhiyong got sentenced, and the Feminism 5 got detained and released. Luckily, we got released because our issue is man mild in the authority eyes, because man and women equal is written in the constitution, which is, you cannot say it's anti-domestic, anti-sexual harassment is wrong, because we have a huge legitimacy of our events, every single events. And also, I witnessed traditional media declines, and the social media, the rise of the new media. Now we are in the new media era, and we also have to deal with the new the issues that caused by the new media, like the information contamination. But the new media also provide a new channel for the feminism action, because the offline campaign, offline protests is highly shifted to online campaigns. And this is the first disappearance of the great areas. And the second one is this is the law that issued and passed and issued, how to say, in between 2015 to 2017. And you can tell this, the first one is anti-spy law, and according to the a lot of media, and you can tell there's a lot of posts from WeChat, and we caught a spy, we caught another spy, and the Chinese women newspaper, they also post the similar posts that we got a spy, and we sentenced this spy to life prison. So you can tell this sort of spy logic become more and more popular. And another one is national security law. And also in Hong Kong, they passed the national security law as well. And the China charity law is more like to regulate in the civil society. If you raise some money from the uncertain public in the past, before 2016, it's legal. You can raise money from anyone you need, but after 2016, it's illegal. And also the most significant measure, which is a very symbolic moment, that the authorities totally shift their attitude to the foreign forces or foreign fundings, is the foreign NGO management law. And this law is like, when the law issued, a lot of NGO, they just closed. Some of them, they got defunded, like Ford Foundation defunded a lot of organizations in China, and just because there's no resources to mobilize the NGO to grow, so they just disappear, just like Global Fund defunded from China. But it's different because they are forced to defund China. And also, we also, you can tell we also have some good law. It's anti-domestic violence law passed. It's a good thing as well. You can tell the feminism movement is not how to say, the movement is fluctuated. Sometimes it's going up, sometimes going down. So it's very complicated. I just want to say, maybe, a lot of people currently, they pay a lot of attention about the Xi Jinping, and and obviously he got a very concentrated power. But I also want to introduce more about the dynamics in China, no matter from the legislative level or the civil society level. So another thing I'm gonna introduce is the criminalization. Apart from the disappearance of the gray areas, some behavior got criminalized. So you can tell is using VPN actually criminalized in China. It won't if you sell a VPN, you might got sentenced up to 5 years. And also they got, mock heroes. You can now say the party's heroes is a fake story. So we got top 10 rumors. Yeah, those are facts. So this is trying to emphasize the legitimacy of the party. And also the ban of foreign fundings is a bad signal, for the NGOs in China. So now the NGOs in China, either you cooperate with the government, you receive the fundings from the government, either you stick on independent, but the scale of the organization is shrunk a lot. And also the police violation become more and more random. This is with a strong connection with the mock heroes, because nationalism and information contamination is very popular on the internet. International internet violence is also very popular on the internet. So the police violation, they want to control more space than the past. So they will randomly give you administrative detention or something else. So I want to make a introduction about the very symbolic moment the feminism activism got delegitimated from China. There's one thing is that it seems like have nothing to do with feminism activism. Just in Chengdu, in a hotpot restaurant, Mei Li and Zheng Churan, they are both organizers or work as feminist activists. They are eating hotpot in their restaurant, and there's a guy smoking inside of the restaurant. And basically, smoking in the public space, it's some sort of it's forbidden on the national level law. But there in Chengdu, there's no local law to regulate their behaviors. So they started to quarrel to each other, and they call for the police, and the police ask the man to apologize to Xiao Meili and Zheng Churan, and also ask 1,000 yuan compensation to Xiao Meili and Zheng Churan. And this incident, just because what the man said is very typical. The man said, "If you don't smoke, you are not a man," because they also have a male friend. And also the man said, because this is public space, so I got the freedom to smoke. So which is very nonsense. It's basically nonsense, and a lot of people, they just hate it. So they drew a huge debate on the Weibo. It's like Twitter. Yeah. So on Weibo, there's some netizens. They are very nationalistic, and they said Xiao Meili used to support Hong Kong independent because they found a picture. It's like the Beyond Band. It's a Hong Kong band. A sentence is 风雨中抱紧自由. It's like a A4 paper, and hold it to support the Red Umbrella movement. The Red Umbrella movement doesn't mean we support Hong Kong independent just because Hong Kong has returned back to China in 1997. Yeah, this is a basic fact. So Xiao Meili become a country divider, a betrayer, agent of foreign forces. So Xiao Meili, just because she's also a feminist activist, so this sort of a person is also a country divider. How to say? Maybe it's betrayer of the country. So we all depict as a country divider on the Weibo, and our account got suspended permanently and removed us from the online platform. So this is what I call the legitimation, because the government, they couldn't find an excuse. They couldn't just say stigmatize us because we are a country divider. We try to contradict men and women, but those netizens with some sort of like they got more power to say what they want, because if they want to defend for us, our posts will be deleted. So this is double standards, which has happened. The similar tendency, the similar things happen on the Twitter as well, especially on the simplified Chinese posts. Basically, there are a lot of fake news a lot of information contamination. You need to figure out which one is true and which one is wrong. But basically, they will prioritize those people. They don't hold the idea of gender equality. So if you host some general values you think is like political correctness, you don't have a space to talk on the Weibo. So I just dropped Weibo and moved to other platforms. And this is my way. It's a personal way to do the resistance. Okay. So after we got removed from the movement, other people, other organizers, they grew up. Like this one is Xianzi, still CCTV broadcaster, Zhu Jun case. It's a Me Too case. Me Too is happened in 2018 in China at the very first day, in New Year. At the beginning, is a college student sue a professor alleged this professor with many behaviors assaulted many women students in Beijing, one of the Beijing university. And also the professor got suspended, just suspended because lack of strong evidence to make a maybe they cannot go through the court because things happened many years ago. And Xianzi's case also happened many years ago, and Xianzi started to share her experience, and Xianzi grew up as an organizer. At the beginning, Xianzi is just an individual, but then people, come to her and share the stories to her, and gradually Xianzi become an organizer. But this sort of a movement is highly decentralized and individualized, without supporting from the foreign forces. Also, Xianzi need to be very careful to decide which foreign media interview can be accepted or not. So you need to be very tactic in like 2020. And also Xianzi's Weibo also got suspended. So the Me Too movement is a very so how to say, the Me Too movement happened in the new media era. It starts from the new media, and then we can see whether this case can go through the court or not. Xianzi sued Zhu Jun on the civil court, and they failed the case, and then appeal, they failed it again. Even though we failed the case, the court said there's no enough evidence to support Xianzi. It doesn't mean, it's not enough. Maybe, it means we have some sort of evidence, but it's not strong enough. And Zhu Jun also sued Xianzi, the defamation, but Zhu Jun withdrew the case. Maybe, just because this sort of allegation could be very powerful in the CCTV system. CCTV is the Central China broadcast system. So you cannot, if you got alleged of sexual harassment, and you need, Zhu Jun was suspended his job for quite a long time. And yeah, so this sort of measure is kind of effective, and also the same sort of way of the decentralized feminism movement also happened in the blockchain women incident, which is happening in Xuzhou, and there's a woman forced to give a chain on her neck, and she was prisoned for quite a long time and forced to give up birth like 8 children. And this is also a very huge wave of people support her. And there's one individual, she was just because supporting the blockchain woman and got sentenced for many months and now released on bail. Got released, and she need to keep silence for a very long time. Just because you got crushed by the authorities, so it's very understandable. And this sort of individual they sacrificed a lot, so they need to keep low profile. Yeah, so this is a future trend about the movement. So we can now say, I can assure you this sort of incident will keep happen in China, and we will continue to have this sort of individuals who will, stand up and fight against the authorities. But things will be very unpredictable. So because the organizers has been removed, yeah. So that is the whole picture of the future. So we need to be optimistic. Yeah, I think I have been talked for like 45 minutes. Now we can move to the Q&A.